Days ahead of phase 2 polling, Prime Minister Modi holds key meeting in Gandhinagar. BJP top brass in attendance. In less than 24 hours, catch the biggest exit polls coverage on Republic with Ornav Anti. Ahmedabad cleric's sexist rant says women contesting elections is un-Islamic, brazens it out when confronted.
इस तरह से लोगों के सामने आना इस्लाम में जायज होता तो उनको मस्जिद से नहीं रोका जाता। इसलिए जो कोई भी औरतों को जो है टिकट देते हैं वो इस्लाम के खिलाफ जो है बगावत करते हैं।
On the other hand, it's a victory for Iranian women as Iran abolishes morality police after mega anti-hijab revolution. Voting for the MCD concludes in the capital. Only 50% voter turnout in the high-stake poll battle. Kashmiri pundits demand security after Lashkar releases hit list with 56 names. On the day Iran abolished morality police after months of anti-hijab movement, a cleric in Ahmedabad says that women contesting elections is un-Islamic. Here are the details and then we debate.
For over 78 days, Iran was burning. Women in Iran led the anti-hijab movement triggered by the death of Mahsa Amini due to alleged torture by morality police. The protests went global, forcing Iran to buckle under pressure. The morality police has now been abolished in Iran.
If it is really true that the Iranian state has now come to agree that they are going to review the law itself and they have abolished the morality police which had been imposing and enforcing the hijab law in Iran, it is going to send shockwaves not only in Iran but all Shia majority states, Shia majority regions of the world, including India.
In India, those who fought for hijab under the garb of freedom of choice have been suspiciously silent on the anti-hijab movement, forcing artists from Iran to stage lone protests. And while there is a win for women's rights in India there are some peddling a sexist narrative.
मुस्लिम औरतों का कस्टोडियन आपको किसने बनाया कि मुस्लिम औरतों को नहीं खड़ा?
पहले सुनिए, मुझे किसी ने नहीं बनाया। इस्लाम का जो उसूल है वो मैंने बयान किया। मैंने इस्लामी एतबार से बताया कि जब मर्द मौजूद हैं तो हमारी औरतों को इसमें हिस्सा नहीं लेना चाहिए। बात खत्म।
Will the pro-hijab lobby in India get the message now? Bureau Report, Republic TV.
To say when he said that women are not allowed in politics. इमाम साहब, आपने कई सारे बयान दिए हैं औरतों के अगेंस्ट में। आपने कहा है कि जो महिलाएं हैं उनकी कोई जगह नहीं है राजनीति में। उन्होंने आपने कहा है कि अगर कोई जरूरत ना हो या मजबूरी ना हो तब तक औरतों को राजनीति में जाना नहीं चाहिए। सर, आपको किसने बनाया कस्टोडियन औरतों का कि आप बताएंगे कि औरतों को राजनीति में जाना चाहिए कि नहीं जाना चाहिए? देश का कानून है, उसके हिसाब से औरतों को पूरी तरह से राइट्स है। आप क्यों औरतों के लिए बात कर रहे हैं?
नहीं, मैंने ये तो नहीं कहा कि औरतों को कोई राइट्स नहीं है।
बिल्कुल आपने कहा है सर।
नहीं, आप दिखा नहीं सकते हैं, ये गलत।
क्या कहने का मतलब था फिर आपका?
हमसे कहा गया कि इस्लाम के एतबार से औरतों को खड़ा होना चाहिए। मैंने कहा मजहबी एतबार से मुस्लिम औरतों के लिए, मैंने कहा औरतों के लिए नहीं।
तो क्या मुस्लिम औरतों का कस्टोडियन आपको किसने बनाया कि मुस्लिम औरतों को नहीं खड़ा?
पहले सुनिए, मुझे किसी ने नहीं बनाया। इस्लाम का जो उसूल है वो मैंने बयान किया है।
ये कहाँ लिखा है सर? ये क्या उसूल है? आप कह रहे हैं कि औरतों को खड़ा नहीं। आपने ये भी कहा है कि उनको नमाज भी नहीं पढ़नी चाहिए।
नहीं, पर ये कहा मैंने कहा कि नमाज नहीं पढ़नी चाहिए। आप लोग क्यों खोटी बातें करते हैं?
आपने कहा कि यहाँ पे आपने किसी औरतों को कभी नमाज पढ़ते हुए नहीं देखा, तो उसको राजनीति में कैसे खड़ा कर?
पहले सुनिए, मैंने ये कहा कि नमाज होती है, नमाज इस्लाम में बहुत अहम है, लेकिन हमारी औरतें मस्जिद में नहीं आती हैं नमाज जैसी अहम इबादत में। तो जब नमाज जैसी अहम इबादत में इस्लाम उनको इजाज़त नहीं देता कि मर्दों के साथ नमाज पढ़ें, तो इस्लामी एतबार से औरतों को असेंबली में, मुस्लिम औरतों को बैठना या स्टेज पर जो है ऐलान करना, घर घर जाके।
जो आप ये बात कहते हैं कि औरतों को इक्वल राइट्स मिलने चाहिए, औरतों के लिए सब होना चाहिए, तो आप चले मुस्लिम महिलाओं की बात कर लेते हैं। मुस्लिम महिलाओं के इक्वल, उसको इनको इक्वल राइट्स तो मिलना चाहिए, आप मानते हैं?
देखिए, आप
हाँ के ना, आप मानते हैं कि इक्वल राइट्स मिलना चाहिए?
इस्लाम हर हक देता है औरतों को,
तो ये हक क्यों आप छीन रहे हैं कि उनको राजनीति में नहीं जाना चाहिए?
पहले सुनिए ये बात, वो इस्लामी कानून है, इस्लामी उसूल है, हम छीन नहीं रहे हैं।
बिल्कुल छीन रहे। अगर आप कह रहे हैं कि आपकी रिलीजन के महिलाओं को,
मैं बात नहीं करूंगा।
अच्छा बोलिए बोलिए बोलिए।
नहीं, मैं फिर बात नहीं करूंगा।
अच्छा, आप कह रहे हैं कि औरतों को, आपने कहा कि राजनीति में उनको अलाउड नहीं है।
कोई बात नहीं करूंगा।
अच्छा, आप मुझे ऐसे धक्का मत दीजिए, पर सुनिए, आपने कहा कि
बात करते हैं, कालवाना चाहती है, मैं बोला ही नहीं हूँ फालतू का।
अच्छा, आप जस्टिफाई कर लीजिए, आपने क्या कहा?
हम तो कह रहे हैं कि हमसे पूछा गया इस्लामी एतबार से, मैंने इस्लामी एतबार से बताया कि जब मर्द मौजूद हैं तो हमारी औरतों को इसमें हिस्सा नहीं लेना चाहिए, बात खत्म।
अब इससे पहले आपने कहा कि उनको इक्वल राइट्स मिलने चाहिए, सही बात है। अब आपने कहा कि पूरा तरह से इक्वल राइट्स के उनका हक है पूरी तरह से, तो ये आप किस तरह से बोल रहे हैं कि उनको राजनीति में नहीं आना चाहिए? एक विमेंस रिजर्वेशन बिल भी है, औरतों को पूरी तरह से सारे राइट्स हैं, तो आप किस लीगल तरीके से बोल सकते हैं, या किस तरह से आप कह सकते हैं कि औरतों को नहीं आप अलाउ करेंगे?
मैंने तो पहले कह दिया, मैं इस्लामी एतबार से बोल रहा हूँ, बात खत्म है।
इसका क्या मतलब होगा अगर आप कह रहे हैं कि
इस्लाम का जो उसूल है, हिजाब, पर्दा, वो हमारी औरतों के लिए लाजिम है, बात खत्म है। मैं इस्लामी एतबार से बोल रहा हूँ, मैं मुल्क के कानून को कहाँ चैलेंज कर रहा हूँ?
पर क्या इस्लामी एतबार और मुल्क का कानून अलग है?
हो सकता है कि अलग हो सकता है।
That's on the burning question tonight. Sandeep Singh, author and columnist, Advaita Kala, author and writer, Sayyida Falak, a political analyst, and Atikur Rahman, Islamic scholar. Opening up the burning question tonight is Advaita Kala and Atikur Rahman. Advaita, I just want you to put this into perspective. Look at what is really happening right now in Iran. When this particular question was asked to people like Asauddin Owaisi, they said, why do you talk about Iran? Talk about what's really happening in India. And they wanted this to continue. But as far as women's rights in Iran is concerned, today would mark that historic day. And look at the comments and look at the dialogue that's actually taking place in our own country.
Absolutely. I mean, it's certainly a historic day for the movement in Iran, the women-led movement in Iran. I must also clarify here and emphasize here, more importantly, that this is a movement that has been triggered and led by women. It's a small step. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a game changer, for the simple reason that the or the hijab law really still exists. So women will still have to wear the hijab as per the law, mandatorily. So it's a small step in the sense that this police force that was set up, this moral police force that was set up in 2006, is going to be disbanded, but the hijab law stands. So we must make that distinction. So what the women and the girls are fighting for in Iran right now has still not been achieved. They still by law are mandated to wear the hijab. And look at the price that has come even for this small victory. The price has been that something like 450 people have been killed since these protests started, including 60 children. So this is the price that has been paid by the women and the girls of Iran to basically ask for a basic freedom, which is to not have to wear an article of clothing if they do not wish to, and which is not mandated in their religious texts either. So, I mean, this is the price that needs to be paid for this kind of theocracy and this kind of autocratic take on life and believing.
Let me also bring in Sayyida Falak. Saida Falak, you heard what Advaita Kala has to say. Now, there is a price that you're essentially paying for it. But the moment we bring the same debate in our own country, we seem to bring it, look through this entire thing in some sort of a binary. And that's where the problem essentially lies, Saida Falak. Why is it that in one word or with one voice, we essentially speak about the rights that every woman faces irrespective of the religion?
First of all, in Iran, they have a Sharia law, and here in India, we have a constitution. There are constitutional laws. So these two countries cannot be compared. There is no comparison at all. Here in India, we are dealing with unemployment, illiteracy, petrol and diesel price hike, decline in GDP, and many other issues. And I think we should be discussing the issues of our country rather than discussing the issues of other countries. And those people, those Indians who are showing their support for the Iranian women protesters are showing their hypocrisy here, because there you want the women to have their choice.
How
but
is it
here
a
in
hypocrisy?
India, you don't want to support the women to have their choice. You don't want the hijab wearing girls to have their choice to wear the hijab and go. If you want to enforce the ban here,
The
you
problem,
want to enforce the ban
Saida,
here.
the
Your
problem is not with the
hypocrisy is being
personal
exposed.
choice.
If
Ms. Falak,
That's the obfuscation. That is
Ms.
the
Falak, can I just,
banning is
I
also
do not wish to interrupt here. I do not wish to interrupt here. Falak.
Yeah,
Ms. Falak,
yeah.
what is important to point out here, your entire starting premise of this argument is completely flawed. When you essentially say that both the countries cannot be compared, we are not talking about the comparison here. We are essentially talking about the fact that it's not about personal choice. It is about the imposition that is being questioned.
Okay, you people are like imposing there is wrong. Okay, I agree. Let women have their choice. But imposing the
What is
ban
this
here is
you
also
people?
wrong, no? Why can't you show the same support to the hijab wearing girls going to school here in India? You support them. You support their choice. Let the women and girls here have their choice
Okay,
to wear it or not to wear it.
okay, I just want
Support
a
them.
quick-
If you want to support there, support the choice here also, no?
I just want a quick repartee.
The hypocrisy is being exposed here.
I just
as
want a
simple
quick
as
repartee
that.
also coming in from Advaita. Okay. So,
Yes.
Ms. Falak, you've made your point. I just want a quick rebuttal coming in from Advaita, and then I'll open this up with Sandeep Singh and Atikur Rahman also. A quick rebuttal. You're hearing what Saida Falak has to say, Advaita. She's essentially saying that this smacks of hypocrisy. Hypocrisy of those who are saying that it's their personal choice. Women's rights should be upheld, but why not the same here in India? That's her position.
No, I think it's a clever obfuscation. What has happened in the anti-hijab protests in India is not that people have been restricted from wearing the hijab in their personal spaces, when they go out, when they feel comfortable wearing it. There is no barrier on that. The issue has arisen because it was an educational institution where there was conflict with the administration of that educational institution based on the norms of the uniform. So it was a very specific issue that was, of course, blown out of proportion and made into a women's rights issue, which it is not. It was basically an issue between students and the administration of a particular college and their imposition. And that college and that educational institute, I might add, had no restrictions. Only it was when you were in class. That was where they were drawing the line. So it wasn't that you couldn't wear a hijab and come to school or college or wherever. It was only when you were in class. And I think this was then, magnified into this kind of narrative of some sort of oppression that was going on. That is not the case. Women in India wear hijabs on their own free will wherever they choose to wear so. But if you are in another institution where there are different rules that are being applied, then you have to kind of negotiate with that and not make it about a rights issue, but really an issue between students and the administration. And this is the kind of obfuscation which exists in our society. And you have that cleric right now on talking about women cannot stand for elections and all that kind of thing. We have to really push back on this. And I don't mean to single out any particular faith when I say this, because there are enough men from different religions who come into the public domain from time to time and make these comments. And it's important that we push back against every one of them because they challenge the constitutionally guaranteed freedoms to the women of this country. And it's as simple and straightforward as that.
Well, in fact, let me also bring in Sandeep Singh right now. Sandeep Singh, in fact, I personally also believe that there is a lot that can be learnt from what is really happening in Iran. Now, in the face of inequality and oppression, the battle that has been fought by the Iranian women, the activists are there. There is a lot to learn from. But Saida Falak says that, why are you even comparing? Why are you talking about it? Look at what is really happening in Iran. Why is it that everyone seems to be so very squeamish about talking about what's really happening in Iran and what could be learnt from there?
Well, I think Sairaj is right on one count that India is a democracy and can't be compared with Iran or any other country. And taking the same logic forward,
Sandeep Singh.
Hindu women, taking the same logic forward, Hindu women were prevented to have gungar. The campaign was run against gungar from last 75 odd years, from school textbook to all other means. And the same thing was not done for the Muslim women. And Muslim women were not liberated from the burqa or hijab. So that historic wrong which Indian democracy has done with Indian Muslim women needs to be corrected the way it was corrected for Hindu women.
Well, in fact, there was some audio problem. Sandeep, I've lost. I haven't really been able to hear out what you exactly had to say. But let me bring in Atikur Rahman right now. Atikur Rahman, why exactly this sort of an objection? When we're talking about, in today's time, we talk about women's right. We talk about the fact that we need to respect it. Look at the kind of comments that have come in. Let me just quote what the cleric from Ahmedabad had to say. The cleric says that what is the position of a woman when this entire politics happens to be the domain of a man? This is the kind of comment that comes in, that too in today's times. And are we to then say that, look here, these are matters that we should simply ignore, brush it under the carpet? Can you really do it when it's coming in from the Shahi Imam?
Well, this theory of women not participating in politics has been set right in the 1980s by a book called The Trial of Benazir Bhutto, Women's Position in Islam. All four schools of jurisprudence was, put into this book, and all four schools of Islamic jurisprudence said that women have ample scope. As far as the Quran and the Prophet's tradition goes, she can be a head of the state like Benazir Bhutto did. She completed all her terms as Prime Minister, and she can also be a participant in a democratic process of a country. All these clerics, orthodox clerics, who are coming out on the eve of elections, they are the pawns of the BJP and the Sangh elements, so that they can pounce upon the minds of the voters at the eve of elections, I would say. As far as the religion of Islam is concerned, there is no bar for women to either participate in elections, be a head of the state, be a head of assemblies. Let the thing set right. As far as the hijab controversy goes, all courage to the Iranian women. They stand very much in a win-win situation today. The morality police has been abandoned. In the same way, we all should demand that the immorality police in India and in Karnataka also is abolished.
Sandeep Singh, Atikur Rahman said that there is a morality police already existing in our country. I don't know, Atikur Rahman, which publication are you really following and what's your news source?
I said immorality police of the
Sandeep Singh.
BJP and the Sangh elements who compelled the girls.
Well, I'm very happy to know that the Imam of Jama Masjid or whoever is saying that he's a member of RSS. So, that way it's good that RSS has made good progress and penetrated into Islamic community. And clerics, such senior clerics
Good
have
that you
started
accept-
talking on the lines of RSS. Well, I'm sure you will come out with more proof.
Okay. Advaita
and,
Kala, many would be asking this question, what is the message that we are essentially sending out? In fact, I was just reading an article that was published of a Iranian activist, and the Iranian activist essentially says that the women and girls have been standing up for their rights in the face of inequality and oppression, and they have great merits and capabilities. Despite all the restrictions, they managed to make up more than 60% of the university students. Now, the reason why I'm quoting this is the fact that, juxtapose this with what really happened in Karnataka. Juxtapose this with situations in several other states. We are still fighting for the basic needs, basic rights of women in our own country.
Absolutely. And I have to say, when I quoted that figure of 448 people who have died since these protests started in Iran, a majority of those who died were men. So you have men also taking to the streets. This is definitely led by women, but certainly men have also joined them against this practice of hijab, of compulsory hijab and restricting freedoms of women. So I think it's really important that people of across genders come together to ensure that women get their rights, because this cannot be the kind of lonely fight that it is and has been for so long. Remember in India also, recently when triple talaq was outlawed, the outpouring of support from Muslim sisters because of that was tremendous. And I think the state has to step in where it can step in and make this difference and make these amendments to these laws. And I don't think we should step back from that and take on any kind of partisan position when it comes to these kind of freedoms, because they impact real lives and real situations. And I feel the same way about hijab. I certainly think that it should be a choice. I'm not going to back away from that position. But I also believe that what happened in Karnataka was something that was conflated and exaggerated, and a victimhood narrative was created around it when it was a case of students having an issue with the administration and their rules. And that is something that I want to reiterate here, because let's not just jump onto this bandwagon of victimhood, because if you're going to choose victimhood in every situation, you're going to actually end up being victims all the time. And I think the women of this country, whatever faith they belong to, have a right to their rights and to their choices. And you can snigger all you want, but the bottom line is that you're sitting on national TV in a hijab, ma'am, and freely so, and free to do so. And that in itself exposes the hypocrisy of your position on this debate.
Madam, you are saying that nobody is enforcing the ban on hijab everywhere in India, just in schools, right? Do you know the meaning of hijab, madam? The constitution allows us to practice hijab, and the constitution doesn't end in schools and colleges. Please get that. The constitution doesn't end there. And do you know the meaning of hijab? Wearing hijab means it's not like you can wear one time, the other time you can remove it. No, everywhere in front of na-mahrams, you have to wear the hijab. That's why in school, the girls who are practicing hijab, the girls who wear hijabs have to wear the hijab in schools as well, in colleges as well. So let them wear. Support their choice. Don't enforce the ban here, please. If you feel sad for the Iranian women, also feel sad for our own Indian girls, our own Indian women who want to wear the hijab and are being forced to remove it. They are being forced to, choose between hijab and kitab.
I don't think you've read enough of my position on the issue. I do support women's choice to wear the hijab. So I don't think she's aware of my issue at all. I have a problem with this.
Advaita, sorry, Advaita, I'll give you the opportunity to respond. But Saida Falak, just tell me only one thing. Saida Falak, just hear me out.
Yeah.
This is a serious issue. What if one does not want to wear the hijab?
Yeah.
I'm saying
I cannot hear you.
there would be a section. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me, Ms. Sayyida Falak?
This
There would be a section, Sayyida Falak. The question that I've been asking you right from the beginning of this debate is that what about the imposition? I'm talking about the fact that there would be a section who may not want to wear the hijab. What happens to those?
See, it should be left with the women to decide. I strongly condemn about I strongly condemn the killing of Mahsa Amini in Iran. That is very wrong. The women there protesting should protest against the killing of Mahsa Amini and others. They should stand for their choice. Okay, they should protest for their choice whether to wear it or not to wear it. But the women who are cutting their hair, who are burning the hijabs, who are roaming naked, are very wrong. They are going against Islam. They don't have the right to do that, and they don't have the right to hurt the sentiments of the hijabi women, hijabi girls across the world. They are hurting the sentiments of the hijabis who believe in hijab across the world, because they shouldn't burn the hijabs and cut their hair and disrespect the hijab. Hijab is something which is compulsory in our religion, and they can protest for their choice. They can protest against the killing of the women, but they should not disrespect the hijab, and they should not hurt our sentiments.
Is it compulsory in your religion, ma'am? Because I don't think it is. You know, and
Sorry?
that is the problem with this kind of narrative, is that you make something compulsory because that's what you choose to
madam,
follow.
it is compulsory.
So what?
Madam, it is compulsory.
I have done a debate previously on this very channel with Islamic scholars who have said that it is not compulsory. I find
Sayyida, allow Advaita to make a point.
Yes, please allow me to finish. And
Sayyida, don't speak over. Sayyida.
Okay, done.
Let Advaita respond.
Done.
You know, the simple
Don't be
question
so
that
worried
Advaita
about
is
the
also asking you, that is it really compulsory?
view.
But I want Advaita
Yes.
to respond, and then I'll also bring in Atikur Rahman. Advaita, go ahead. Make your point.
Rahman, because he is a scholar of Islam, and then he could probably advise us more clearly on this. But I've listened to enough Islamic scholars who have said that it is not compulsory. I certainly don't claim to be an expert on this. But my point is quite... Why is she interrupting constantly? She shouldn't be so insecure about a contrarian view in a democracy. Now, I find it appalling that you would be triggered by the burning of the hijab, but not by the 400 odd people who have lost their lives in this protest. The reason why they're getting support from ordinary people around the world, as well as people from the Muslim community, is because so many people have lost their lives. And it takes great bravery to confront a theocratic regime. And that is what these people are doing. So I think, see, this is where, you know, we miss the point, where we miss the connect, is the fact that burning of the hijab is more affecting and offensive to the sentiments than the actual killing of real, live, breathing people, including, I might add, children.
Atikur Rahman, Advaita raises this concern that you see there is a narrative that is being built. The narrative essentially being that it is compulsory. But there is no clarity about it, and some would say that that is not true. So why is it that there is a narrative that you want to build time and again, simply putting pressure by saying that this is a must?
Advaita, you should realize the fact that the Quran is very much clear on this fact, that women and men too, I repeat, women and men too, should guard themselves from unwanted disclosure of any part of their body. The women are, in their own right to dress as they wish, and it is very much compulsory on the men to put down their eyes, to look down, not to repeat their gaze against the women. Secondly, Advaita, you should appreciate the fact that in a college and a school of 90 girls, only 6 demanded their right to choice. Not all of them. If it would have been a compulsory thing, either by some political groups or by some of the families of these girls, all 90 would have demanded. but only 6 are demanding to cover their head only. Why don't you appreciate their right to choice, Advaita? It's not compulsory in Islam, but it's a matter of choice and freedom of women.
Okay, just one last word. Okay, I'm running out of time, so I'll just give that one last word to Advaita. Advaita, respond to what Atikur Rahman has to say.
So, Mr. Atikur Rahman has spoken about dressing modestly, which is also what I've heard from Islamic scholars whenever I've listened to them on this particular issue. Again, I reiterate, hijab has not been mentioned as a compulsory item of clothing. There is a distinction here. And I repeat what I said earlier at the time this controversy broke down as well. I did say that, maybe they should wear a hijab, which is the color of the uniform, and there should be a middle path wherein the administration and the girls can figure out a way. But my only objection to the way that whole issue was blown up was the fact that it became one about, victimizing Muslim women in particular and feeding that narrative when it was particularly an issue between the school administration and the students, which happens all the time in our country. Kids or school children or college kids want to do one particular thing, the administration refuses to let them do it, and they butt heads. So my whole issue was, why were we conflating it into this whole victimhood narrative where it went global and it became this big story of oppression when it was something very commonplace? And as far as the Iran issue is concerned, 450 people have lost their lives. That's why people care. We all know the history of the hijab. We know that the monarch, the Shah of Iran, banned the hijab. And there was a counter protest because he banned the hijab. Because there were sections of society who wanted it. And that fed into the larger protest against the Shah. And that brought in the theocratic regime. So when we come to these debates, we come informed. We don't come with a position which we just grab out of the air. So one realizes the element of choice. The problem is it's a fundamental thing to do for your faith, and it must be done. That's the oppression that we have to support young women against.
Well, thank you very much, Advaita Kala, Sandeep Singh, Saida Falak and Atikur Rahman for joining us on the first burning question. I'm sorry, Atikur Rahman, I'm running short of time. I'll start the other debate in a short while from now. But thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on the first debate. A social media handle operated by the Lashkar-e-Toiba has once again issued threats to Kashmiri pundits in the valley. Terror Group has now released a list of about 56 Kashmiri Pandit employees that are on the target. Here are the developments, and then we debate.
In the last 7 months, there have been at least 7 targeted killings in the valley. And now, Lashkar-e-Taiba has issued a fresh threat to the Kashmiri Hindus working in Kashmir. Lashkar Front has released a hit list with names of 56 Kashmiri Pandits. This list with names, addresses and workplaces of Pandit has raised security alarm.
ये थ्रेट लेटर आई है फिर से टीआरएफ के थ्रू जो जिनमें नेम्स एम्प्लॉयज के नाम तक जिसमें मेंशन है, तो ये बहुत ही शॉकिंग और ये हमारे लिए एक चेतावनी से कम नहीं है। और हम चाहते हैं कि सरकार इस पे ज़रूर एक इंक्वायरी बिठाए कि ये नाम ऐसे बाहर कैसे आए और ये थ्रेट लेटर्स का जो सिलसिला है ये रुक क्यों नहीं रहा है।
तो सरकार इस लेटर के बाद से जो थ्रेट लेटर इशू हुआ है, सरकार इसके बाद से क्या कहेगी? क्या इनकी सेफ्टी सिक्योरिटी आप इंश्योर कर पाएंगे? मैं सरकार से पूछना चाहता हूँ। या जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, जिन डीडीओज ने प्रेशराइज किया एम्प्लॉय को, क्या वो अब रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेते हैं इन एम्प्लॉयज की या नहीं?
Will the government step in and ensure safety and security of Pandits? Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Joining us on the burning question tonight are Tuhin Sena, spokesperson of the BJP, Amit Raina, Kashmiri activist joining us from the national capital, Ahmed Ayaz, political analyst joining us from Srinagar, and Sujata Bashir, senior leader of the Democratic Azad Party. Straight away, beginning with Tuhin Sena. Tuhin, the question here is that you heard the Kashmiri Pandits. There is a growing fear and the fact that addresses of Kashmiri pundits have also been leaked. This brings me to the fact that is the administration in Jammu and Kashmir doing enough for the safety of Kashmiri pundits? And time and again we are asking this question, but we see that lofty promises are being made, but not much really happening on the ground when it comes to the protection of Kashmiri pundits.
Good evening, Shaman. Good evening to all the panelists and viewers. You know, if you go into the number of Kashmiri pundits who have been killed in standalone killings or focused killings this year, it might be 20 or 22 at this point of time. The government is cognizant of every threat, small or big, and this threat by LET will be taken equally seriously and will be thwarted. Please understand that from 2017, where there were more than 5,000 terrorists active in the valley, there are now less than 100. But yes, that is also the reason why LET, organizations like LET, which are struggling to survive today, which basically have no support left in the valley, and as probably, these warnings are focused towards getting more funding from international sources, especially in Pakistan and Afghanistan. But yes, I mean, as far as we are concerned, we are continuously committed to the eradication of terrorism. And this particular threat will obviously, will be a further eye-opener, and we will ensure the safety of each and every one. But if you look at the larger context, this is an act of despondency because, we are on way, the delimitation process and the elections will normalize the situation to such an extent where any which way these terror forces which have become redundant will be further eliminated and eradicated.
But Sujata, the question here is that not enough is actually also being done on the ground when it comes to the kind of statements that are essentially being made, not enough to really allay the fear that Kashmiri pundits have, and the politicians there are to be equally responsible. Kashmir-based political parties haven't also done much.
One thing to be very clear, this BJP, they said that there will be a new Kashmir. There will be a new change in India. What is the change in Kashmir? There's still the target kills are going on. It's not about the Kashmiri pundits. It's for every Kashmiri, every J&K person. Why only they have not changed anything? They were just watching. What are they doing? What are their promises? They were just lying, giving the words and putting the people in the mess up that now you will be in a safe hands. After the UT, what is the change? Just want to know what is the change. Still the people are getting killed. Now there's one more threat that there will be a killing of 56 Kashmiri pundits. So it will be a killing for another Muslims or Sikh or anyone who lives here. So where is the change? Where is the Naya Kashmir? Where is the change in India? So it means they are making us fool. We are living a fool's paradise. We are not living in a place where we feel, okay, we are safe. As a politician, I am saying that no one is safe here now. Because now another list has come out for the 56 persons. It can be me also. It can be anyone. So where is the safety of the people? What happened 1990? I think they are repeating this thing again. They are saying, first of all, tell me how they cross, how they come from the borders. It means there is no tightness in the borders. Still the people are coming. They are crossing the border and doing whatever they want to do it here. Where is the safety of the Kashmiri person?
I'm waiting for my turn. I'm waiting for my turn because I don't...
Tuhin, quickly respond, and then I also want to bring in Amit Raina and Ahmed Fayaz.
First of all, the people who are in denial will never accept that Naya Kashmir will not be created. It has already been created. And, the large numbers in which people today turn out to participate in nationalist activities like Har Ghar Tiranga is the biggest testament of that change.
We also came on the Lachuk and start participating. Last time the press told us, does this stop the killing? Does this not going to stop it? Just give us the security.
Okay, Sujata Bashir, come on. Keep the tempers under control. Okay, 1 minute, Tuhin and Sujata Bashir, keep the tempers under control. We are having a civilized debate. You've asked a question to Tuhin. What is it that the BJP has really done for Jammu and Kashmir? Let him answer that question.
Let him answer. Come on. We should not go.
Sujata Bashir, come on. Speaking over each other makes no sense, Sujata.
This
Ms. Bashir,
constant
Ms.
fear
Bashir,
mongering by NC, PDP
one
and
minute,
the
one
like.
minute, one minute, one minute.
Constant
Tuhin, hold on. Tuhin, hold on. Let's just bring it back to some specifics. Tuhin, just a quick response from you once again, because this is a question, this is something that you will face again and again, especially with the rise in targeted killings. Sujata Bashir is directly making an allegation against you and your party that you promised that a Naya Kashmir is going to take place. Yes, there are developments that has taken place, etc. But having said that, Kashmiri pundits are still living under fear. You said that post the abrogation of Article 370, infiltration is going to go down, terror activities are going to go down. Do you believe that has really happened?
No, Shravan, first you need to differentiate between a conventional terror attack and a standalone attack. You know, a standalone attack, unfortunately, no country has a foolproof solution to it. But given the challenges, we are doing everything to combat it. In fact, at least in 60% of the cases. Why teach some manners to these people?
Okay, Sujata Bashir, you
manners to these people before you get them. Do some induction course before you get them on Republic.
Ms. Bashir, 1 minute.
So in more than 60% of the cases, the terrorists have been neutralized.
Ms. Bashir, please do not interrupt. Tuhin, you make your point. 30 seconds, make your point. Ms. Bashir, please don't interrupt.
In more than 60% of the cases,
I'll give you the time. Ms. Bashir, you can respond. Ms. Bashir, you can respond to what Tuhin is saying.
These are the people who... These are the people who live in denial.
You sound to be much more agitated. It is he who has to do the answering. He is doing it for you. You seem to be very agitated. I'll give you the chance to respond, but allow me to make his point.
In more than 60% of these standalone killings, the terrorists have been neutralized, and these incidents have only, they have only awakened us further to ensure that no such killings takes place in future. Having said that, like I mentioned before, if you look at it practically, to promise today that no further killing, not a single killing, is difficult for any government across the world. But if you look at simple data from 2017, I just mentioned there were more than 5,000 terrorists active in the valley. There are less than 100 today. And this has happened because there is a sea change in mindsets and mentality. Kashmiris today are completely in unison with Indian sentiments. And that is what is completely frustrating parties like NC and PDP, who continue to issue threats and who continue to live in denial that we are going back to the 90s. No, we are not going back to the 90s.
Okay.
We are going back to the 2040s and 2050s, and this is something they will never accept.
Okay, Tuhin, you made your point. Let's broaden the debate. Let's broaden the debate now. Okay, Tuhin, you made your point. Let's broaden the debate. Let me bring in Amit Raina and Ahmed Ayaz can respond. Amit Raina, as a Kashmiri pundit, I want for a minute, let's keep aside the politics. Ms. Bashir and Tuhin can talk about what they would want to do or what they have done so far. At the end of the day, we are talking about the Kashmiri pundits. Let's not forget that there is a reality that they are staring at, and the reality essentially being that they still remain the biggest target. And some would say that, yes, we've done something about it, but not enough. I want you to come in as a Kashmiri pundit, weigh in on what's really happening on the ground. Do you believe that enough has been done?
If there were data being thrown around, so let me also share a data. Around 130 people have lost, civilians have lost life after abrogation of Article 370, that is from 5th August 2019 till last month. Out of which 33% are from Hindu community or Sikh community, the minority community. Now, why is it significant? Because the population of minority in Kashmir Valley is only 1%. But the number of people being killed is 33%. Apart from that, the people who have got killed are mostly the police officers who have been serving in the valley have been killed. Apart from that, people who are seen as pro-India or are seen not following the Wahhabi or hardcore Islam get killed. Now, why is Kashmir, has enough been done for Kashmiri pundits? I think no. And until and unless Government of India, irrespective of the government that is in place, does not admit and acknowledge what is wrong with Kashmir, you will have never anything right happening in Kashmir. Because one, what is happening in Kashmir is jihad. It is not the lack of development which every member of the ruling party claims. Second is that you need to acknowledge that what has happened to Kashmiri Pundits from 1990 onwards is genocide. Because what is happening today is, while you may claim there are only 100 terrorists living in a valley, the truth is that there is enough ecosystem available, both politically, as Tuhin himself admitted right now by naming National Conference and PDP, and in among civilians who support the terror movement, who support the jihad, who support the Ghazwa against India. And the minority community will always remain vulnerable in Jammu and Kashmir till you do not address that concern. First, you need to address and make the killings of Kashmiri Pandit a genocide, because your current laws do not allow the people who are participant in the genocide, like Ghulam Nabi Azad, who was responsible for Bitta Karate getting bail in 2006, who kept mum when Kashmiri Pandits were getting killed in 1990, and people like Sayyid and Abdullah, and apart from any other politicians who have been directly or indirectly responsible for the genocide that has happened in Kashmir, because your current laws do not allow it. Secondly, while Kashmir Files may be the great movie and everyone in BJP appreciates that movie, we have not seen any ground action happening. For last 32 years, Kashmiri Pandits have been begging for a white paper, for an SIT. But nothing of such sort has happened. Why? Because no one wants to bell the cat. Because Kashmiri Pandits and the Hindus in Kashmir are to be sacrificed on the altar of secularism and Kashmir. 52 people getting death threats, employees, and you expect those families to live in Kashmir without security, when your own, even a Nukkad president of BJP gets a 10 people PSO. You expect a Kashmiri Pandit who has been targeted for 32 years going to work and not fearing about his life, not fearing about his children's life, not fearing about his family's life, then we are living fool's paradise. We need to keep our egos aside. We need to move the Kashmiri Pandit employees to the rest of the state, even to the rest of India. Employ them in the rest of India, and when you get your act in order in Kashmir, you take them back. Kashmiri Pandits are willing to go back. I am willing to go back. Or if you want to take us back right now, we are willing to go back as right now, but you need to give us one place settlement. You cannot scatter us across the valley and make us a shooting range, sitting ducks, or a shooting range practice for terrorists. You give us one place settlement in Kashmir, and I promise you and assure you, every Kashmiri Pandit will go back. Otherwise, we are looking at a situation where Kashmiri Pandits will continue to get killed in Kashmir.
Okay. Mr. Ayaz, as Amit Raina points out, that there exists an ecosystem. And that ecosystem is perpetuated by whom? Political parties, and the fact that there is a mindset, jihadi elements, who believe that the Kashmiri Pandits do not belong. And that ecosystem needs to be completely demolished.
You see, at the outset, I share the concern expressed by Amit. We have been always sharing it, and we too have been also concerned about it. It's not that it's only Amit Rana. We have been also been talking about the safety of the people and the protection, all that. We have been all the way talking, and so far as the threat is concerned, it's an unfortunate development, and however, we need to see and ascertain the authenticity of the threat, whether it is really a threat thrown out by the militants, or there is some mischief being played by someone. But even if, whether militants or otherwise, it is really a problem. It is really a threat for anybody. And then it raises two questions. One, that the sense, the ground gives us the sense, the situation scenario in the Kashmir, and then raises a question as to what happened to the promises which the government made to us, particularly after abrogation of Article 370, that the militancy will end, and then the normalcy will prevail, and then the development will take place. These were the major issues which were promised. And in the process, after 2019, the abrogation of Article 70, and we have seen another exodus of the Kashmiri Pandits, and we have seen then the target killings. Well, it is a matter of very serious concern, and it's an alarming situation. we were thinking to see that the Kashmiri Pandits come back and resettle in their homeland. And we could not do that. And instead, whoever people were serving here for last so many years, they too have fled away. Not only them, even the laborers from Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, outsiders who have been contributing very fruitfully to the economy of the Kashmir, and they are also fleeing away. Then what is the strategy? What is the government of India doing? What has happened to the promises?
Okay.
How far will be continuing with all this? What's happening
Okay, just
today?
30 seconds.
Today this threat, even if it is not a true, even if this threat is not true, considering it is not a true, it is a mischief. But again, it is a threat. Who will say that it is not a real threat? Is there anybody who can confirm? No, it is not a real threat. It is a threat, whether it is by militants or otherwise. It is a threat, and people will take it as a threat. And then why the security? Why is the protection? Then why is the peace? Why is the normalcy? I mean, these are certain questions which the government of India has to reply.
Okay. Just.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ayaz, you made a point. I just want to end this debate by taking one more question from Tuhin Sinha, clubbing together what Mr. Raina and Mr. Ayaz had to say. Tuhin, two aspects. You've heard Amit Raina saying that if you want to resettle Kashmiri Pandits, then you perhaps can't scatter them across the valley, making them complete sitting duck in terms of what should be the way for the Kashmiri Pandits in terms of their resettlement. Issue number one. Issue number two, as Mr. Ayaz is saying, that can we really say that there exists no threat? And the fact of the matter is that you may keep raising this entire fact that Kashmir-based political parties are responsible. No one can really deny what the Abdullahs have done. But the fact of the matter is that we need to look ahead. So two issues that you need to address, Tuhin, that in Kashmir,
they are also what the
can
government
these
has
two
done.
issues
No, they are also
be
what the
resolved?
government has done.
Mr. Raina's suggestion is concerned that you can't scatter the settlement process. I think it's well taken, but that these are these decisions will eventually have to be taken by the highest security apparatus. And I have limited bandwidth to comment on an issue which is so specific to security. So I think. But the larger point still remains, when we have the best of intentions, and those intentions will eventually fructify with the elections, which would happen sooner than later in 2023. The point is that today, in the last 2.5 years, in the last 3.5 years after the application of Article 370, Mehbooba Mufti and Farooq Abdullah have once again proved that they are as dangerous as some of the separatist elements, because with their statements they almost tend to justify these standalone killings. These standalone killings are different from terrorist activities, but though I don't consider them any less dangerous or any less a threat. But the fact is that these political parties have lost their hope.
I'm running out of time.
These elections.
We would like to continue. It's an issue. It's an issue. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think so. We can continue. We can continue debating. We can continue. Okay, Ms. Bashir, I'm running out of time. Ms. Bashir, I'm running out of time.
You don't want to speak a truth.
Okay, Ms. Bashir, I'm running out of time. Well, everyone needs to do the answering here. But thank you very much, Tuhin Sinha, Amit Raina, Ahmed Ayaz, Sujata Bashir. Ms. Bashir, I don't have much time right now. I apologize, Ms. Bashir. Ms. Bashir, I don't have the time. Ms. Bashir.
It's a matter of whole J&K. It's a matter of whole J&K. You're not letting us to speak. Let him answer. Why don't he answer? If his government promises that there will be a Naya Kashmir and the people will be safe, where is the safety of Emri, Jammu and Kashmir?
Because of which you are redundant. There is a new Kashmir which has rejected your politics.
Okay.
Which has rejected your politics.
Ms. Bashir, you may. No, that question has already been taken. That question has already been taken. No one can really deny that. But okay, thank you very much, Tuhin Sinha, Amit Raina, Ahmed Ayaz, and Sujata Bashir. I'm really sorry. I'll have to end this here. I'm running really short of time, but thank you very much for joining us on The Burning Question.
Burning Question.
मेरी नजरों से चुना, तेरी हरकतों से सुना, कभी जीती तू, कभी मैं हारा, फिर भी खूबसूरत है ये नजारा, क्योंकि इसमें है खुला
कुछ मेरा, कुछ तुम्हारा।
अमेजिंग स्पेसेस के लिए ग्रीन लैम लैमिनेट्स, कुछ मेरा कुछ तुम्हारा।
A high voltage battle which will decide the nation's political trajectory. Who will break their records and which faces will be the winners?
89 out of the 182 seats go to polls. Stay tuned to India's election news headquarters
as Gujarat goes to polls. Live coverage minute by minute
all day today on Republic. The mandate from the two states.
It's been a high-stakes battle for the Prime Minister.
Who will win Gujarat and Himachal?
While the opposition was missing in action, the people have given the real mandate.
Will the BJP retain both the states? Is the Aam Aadmi Party even a factor?
Get the earliest peep into the verdict with
Republic PMark exit poll, December the 5th at 6 p.m.
Waterlogging has increased in the last 3 to 4 hours. Elphinstone station is shut, which means all those people who are hoping to go back home. When you look at that crowd, what's the message that Houston is sending out? There is also anticipation of a few announcements being made. What are your expectations when they both come up on stage? Are you expecting something big? I'm at the Jama Masjid in Bandra and there are thousands of people behind me. Why they are protesting, but the situation is pretty tense. Thousands of people that you see. 4 दिन की रिमांड है, 4 दिन की रिमांड। कुछ कहना चाहते हैं आप? पत्राचौल स्कैम, मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग का चार्ज के बारे में क्या बोलना चाहते हैं आप? As Gujarat goes to polls on the 1st of December, 89 of 182 seats will vote.
Where high voltage political battle has broken out in the state of Gujarat since the bipolarity of the state.
Will the BJP score a record victory in Gujarat? Is the Aam Aadmi Party even a factor?
Politics has been challenged for the first time. Watch the fastest updates only on India's election headquarters
on Republic TV.